Welcome to the But Did You Die podcast. This is Darren Brew Clark, and we are coming to you live from the mean streets of El Lago. And today I am interviewing Robby White, owner of Terra America Coffees. And the reason I wanted to talk to Robby is one, he knows a lot, coffee aficionado, knows a lot about it. He's a roaster, and he's where I buy my coffee from. But it's also partnered with me in private labeling Coffee to the Rescue, which is my project, kind of reason for starting the podcast and giving it a purpose, because the podcast is my way of marketing Coffee to the Rescue, and Coffee to the Rescue is a project where all the coffee sold, the profits will be going to stopping human trafficking. And so I met with Robby and I said, hey Robby, would you be interested in doing some private labeling? And we talked about it, told him what the cause was, and he said absolutely. So, Robby, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Wait.
You're dancing.
I know. Goes to the machine here.
So without getting too deep into it right out of the bat, we'll do a little medulla oblongata minute. Kind of stretch the brain muscles a little bit.
That's always frightening.
Yep. What was your first car?
A POS Carnegie.
There you go.
It was a vehicle that taught a lot of mechanics. You got to learn to set the valves and run without a starter and learn all the ins and outs of a really cheap 65 horsepower VW.
Hey, there you go.
Oh yeah, it was always a treat.
Gotcha. I see you've got a guitar here. So what was your first guitar?
That one. No, it's yeah. So the guitar I have in the garage, which is covered in coffee dust, and is a Kramer guitar and a Kramer amp, which I bought from Walmart for $60 20 some odd years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it is, and it's still been here, it's still working. Wanted to get a nicer guitar, but I realized that it's not the guitar, it's the player that makes all the good noise. So I'm still working at it, and right now it's serving a purpose.
There you go. Favorite vacation spot?
Oh, I can't. It's either going to be Hawaii or Costa Rica. Both of them are fantastic. We did a vacation of Playa Negro down there. Fantastic surfing, fantastic diving in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. Same thing in Hawaii. Great diving, Maui, and also on the Big Island. The thing I like about Hawaii, a couple things. One, no snakes.
Yeah.
Big winter. The only really poisonous critter in there is asps. But there's no thermocline in Hawaii. In Costa Rica, if you get below 40 feet, the water gets really cold really quick. In Hawaii, I can go down 100 feet, 110 feet, and the water's still pretty much the same temperature. You can dive in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and you're good down to a couple hundred feet. It's just amazing. Both of them have very clear water. A lot of wildlife in Hawaii. So great diving. You don't see the coral beds you do in Costa Rica, but with all the fish and all the wildlife, it's a hard toss-up. So either one of them, I'd be happy.
Okay. And then final one. What's your bucket list trip you haven't taken yet?
Argentina.
Argentina?
Yeah, I want to go there and just do some fly fishing and see everything from the Patagonia region into the belt of the cattle area, just to see it. I guess, I was thinking about that, why I wanted to go there. And I remember being in elementary school and they're talking about the boleros, the bolos, and I thought that was just really interesting, and the gauchos, the cowboys down there.
Sure, yeah,
so there's always been, being from Texas, you always have a cowboy thing going on.
Right.
So I thought, I would like to go there one day, but I think for me, it's just going down there and doing some fly fishing. Actually, I really want to catch fish, but it'd just be more of just going for the adventure. To see a part of the world that would be like the United States was maybe 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, awesome. Wow. I can think of a lot of worse places to go and things to do than fly fishing in Argentina. That's awesome.
That would be nice.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about Terra Americas and how did this journey start?
Oh, I think everybody, when you start off drinking coffee at a younger age, probably goes through college or your early working years where you're drinking swill. It's just warm and caffeinated.
Yep.
And you don't know any better. And it was really good when I was flying. You would drink the I hate to even call it coffee, but that boiled down dregs that's been in the little tin can warmer for hours on end, and you're coming into land, so you get them to bring you a cup of coffee just so you can get the airplane on the deck and move on. To me, that's what I thought coffee was, and I guess I gave it up when I just couldn't drink the coffee anymore. It was hard on my stomach. It was a lot of acid, just basically, it was just eating holes in my stomach. So therefore, probably 5, 6, maybe even 10 years, I just didn't drink coffee. I thought it was just the nastiest swill available to man. And there are other avenues to get caffeine into your system.
Sure.
And my wife called me up and said they're having a coffee expo. She's a really big coffee fanatic. She loves her coffee, especially in the mornings. She's a big coffee morning person. And she said she would like to go to that. And of course, I said, sure, let's go. It always interested me. And so we went there and we saw how many millions of pounds of coffee come through the port of Houston. I think we're the second largest importer of coffee in the United States outside of California. And it's growing bigger. For all I know, I haven't really looked on the data from the port of Houston, but they may have outstripped California now. Well, when you think about it, from everything on the East African side comes here, the Ebola area, the Mount, I forgot what it's called there, but the big coffee producing areas, the Sudan, everything, all can come this way into the Texas port. Everything from South America, Mexico, and Central America all comes into the port of Houston.
Okay.
Right now, Central America is becoming a huge coffee producing area, and they're producing some of the highest qualities out there. Panama, last 3 years, have won the Cup of Excellence, and with their geisha coffees, and the geisha last year sold for $805 a pound, unroasted. Yeah, so Panama is really coming along as far as the varietals goes. They're the ones to beat as far as Cup of Excellence, and right now the top 3 are in Central America. So we have some of the best coffees being grown in the world right here on our own continent, and for me, it's why it's called Terra America. It's the land of the Americas, from South America, Central America to North America. So all the things I buy are on this continent. There's my daughter pointing out, there are 2 continents, but so we keep everything on our home shores, let's say.
Okay.
And the supply chain is extremely short, and it is damn good quality coffee.
Yeah, it is. So, what got you started? I mean,
yeah, sorry, I was kind of went off on a tangent there. We were at the expo, and I bought like 5 pounds of green beans. Just wanted to see what it was like. I thought, oh, I'm going to chew some of the beans. I don't have to drink the coffee. Tried to chew some green beans. That didn't work. They're hard as like little rocks. So I decided to take a iron skillet and roast some coffee beans.
Okay.
Right. Put it over the fire, and I started going to town with it. And different. I'm sure back in the day that was the way to do it.
Sure.
But it was a lot better than the diner coffee that I had got in the airplane, or I got when I was in college or in the Marine Corps. It was just so much better.
Yeah.
And that was just because it was fresh, right? And you're like, this is great. We did that a few times. It got to be a real pain in the butt. So I bought a small time roaster. It's called a Bmore 1600. And it's just a drum roaster with some, I want to say halogen lights in the back that actually heat the coffee. It was fantastic. And it roasts maybe 3/4 of a pound. So it'll do a pound, but it doesn't get enough heat to do it. It takes about 40 minutes to do 3/4 of a pound. And it was fantastic. It was really good coffee. And I started doing it for some of my friends, and they were like, this is great. I'm not used to drinking this stuff. And that went on for probably a year or so. And I finally said, I got too many people that want this coffee. And I'm a gadget guy, so I just wanted the next bigger thing.
Sure.
So I looked at drum roasters, I looked at fluid bed roasters, and I just went back and forth on them, and did a lot of reading on it. And for where I was, the fluid bed roaster was kind of what I wanted. I liked the fact that it agitated the beans really quickly. It got rid of all the chaff, got rid of the silverback, got rid of the parchment, and it didn't keep it in there and burned it while I was in the drum. And it was more controllable than the drum roasters are. Because drum has a big, heavy piece of steel that takes a while to heat up and cool down. So I went with the fluid bed roaster, and I started using that, and I found it was just, that was one of those moments where the clouds parted and the angel voices came out like, oh, and it's like, this is good coffee. And ever since then, I've been doing coffee for myself, and then excuse me, started with a couple more friends of mine, and then my client base just really grew.
Sure.
And that's why. So I do very small batches, and I do it with very highly choice coffee beans, and it is just something that I really enjoy, and I've started to, I don't want to say I'm getting good at it, but it's something that I've really found the sweet spot in the coffee and the sweet spot in the niche coffee industry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's hence Terra America is Texas' most exclusive coffee, right?
We are.
It's you don't really advertise that I know of. I mean, I've been buying it for a year before I find your website, and you know, you knew somebody or recommend somebody, and then I gave it away at Christmas at work, and it went over like a hit. But yeah, I mean, it's an awesome cup of coffee. So wow, so that's how I got started. So like I said in the intro, I partnered with you to private label Coffee to the Rescue, and it's a quality coffee. It's and it kind of pairs up nicely with stopping human trafficking and taking care of people or things such as the earth. Let's talk a little bit about the background and your whole process from art to part of the company and how it takes care of the earth.
Well, it's big for us when we buy our coffee. We buy our coffee that is fair trade, direct trade, and organic coffees. Doing that, we pay a premium, which goes back to the farmers and back to the pickers. So that's important for us. Once again, I'm not out there selling tons of coffee.
Yeah.
So for me, what I do with my coffee is important. And for the company here in the mean streets of Malaga, as you say,
right.
We try to be as green as humanly possible too.
Yep.
So I use 100% renewable electricity when we roast our beans. The chaff, the silverback, and all the parts that come off the coffee that get collected in the parchment collector gets put into vermiculture, which is basically composting with worms.
Yep.
And the worms love it. They think it's like, worm crack. And the coffee grounds that we use needs to go back in the garden as well.
Okay.
Coffee grounds are an excellent fertilizer.
You told me about that, and I did a little test in my front little victory garden, I call it. Half of it got coffee grounds, and the other half didn't. And in a very probably 3-week time, there's a noticeable difference.
Really?
And the color of the plant on the one side or the other, the fullness. I mean, it's a big difference.
It's very important that you take the coffee grounds and don't throw them in the trash.
No.
And don't let them go down your pipes. That'll make a plumber happy, but it's not going to make you happy. So, I mean, take the extra time and throw it in the garden or throw it in the front yard because it works fine with the grass.
Yeah.
It really does. And it's things like that. And it's not really big, but, it's good for the yard. It's good for you. And it doesn't take much out of your life to do it. Well, I just had a mental fart, sorry.
No, we were just talking about how every part of the company is it's renewable energy, renewables. Where it starts, it goes back to the ground. It's just caring for the land that we live in and the people that are growing it. And
Terra America.
Right.
Terra means earth, right?
Okay.
So, the Earth of Americas. Yeah, it's important that we get the coffee grounds back in the ground. It's also really important that, like I said, the chaff gets put in compost heaps. It really helps out that way. And all our electricity we use here is 100% renewable, which is fantastic. I mean, the only thing that I don't renew is the burlap bags, and you were telling me somebody's making purses out of them. So
right.
I think that's fantastic. I don't have any sewing skills, so that probably is not going to happen, but I'll see.
And
Rob, get a line on it, please do.
There you go. Robby, incidentally, was a former mayor of Malago, and he was passionate about getting Malago renewable energy, and we were the first renewable city in Texas, right?
We were the first general law city to be recognized by the EPA as a green city.
Right. And that's a big deal. And Malago is a seasoned community, and it's people, younger generations are caring more and more about the planet, and we've definitely seen people attracted to the city because of the green city. So.
It really is, and that's something we worked really hard to get past and to pull off. I mean, it's something that takes community involvement, because to do that, you have to have a percentage of your community that actually is using renewable energy. It's not just the city, it's the community involved as well.
Right, and so, yeah, make it good all the way around. So thanks for doing that, Robby. So okay, let's dive into the coffee. Let's talk about the different, the cast of coffees, the different characters of coffees that you've got offerings. Let's first start out with the Jasmine.
Jasmine, super big seller. It's something that I really enjoy working with. It's my mellow coffee. It is the super mellow coffee. It's a little bit more alkaline than most of the other coffees we have. It comes from a nice volcanic kind of sandy loam soil up in Guatemala. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very small sweet spot bean.
Yep.
So you can't take it into the dark side. You can't under roast it. You have a nice. Every coffee has a sweet spot in it where the coffee bean tastes really good.
Yep.
You can't force it to do something that's not going to do, and that takes a little bit of time to figure out where it is for each coffee bean. The Guatemalan coffee is probably the most mellow coffee that I sell.
Okay.
I mean, it's fantastic. If you have stomach problems because of the acidity, that's the coffee you want to go to.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a little bit more alkaline than most of the other coffees.
I came to you and I said, Sandra can't drink it, because I was buying Dark Side at the time, and I said, man, she likes it, but it tears her stomach up. And he said, look, try the Guatemalan Jasmine, and it changed the game for her. She was back drinking coffee.
That's a fantastic thing to hear. That's nice to hear. I mean, when you go, there's a coffee that we also do called the Dark Side, which is a Costa Rican bean, and I take it into the Dark Side, which is a dark roaster coffee.
Yep.
And that theory takes some of the acidity out of it, making it charred a little bit more. But compared to the Jasmine just comes in so much under the regular acidic coffee. It's just a fantastic thing. And it has a really good body to it, and it has a mellowness all the way through until it tails off.
Right.
And it doesn't leave a bad aftertaste in your mouth. It's just probably a fantastic coffee. And it's my wife's favorite coffee. She just loves that coffee. Can't get any more until February because they've sold out.
That says enough right there, right?
Yeah, it's on the boat, or it will be on the boat here in the next month or two. A couple weeks.
Okay.
So I've already got my name down for more of it when it comes in.
Good.
Yeah, really enjoy that. Also have...
let's talk about the Dark Side.
The Dark Side. That comes from my Costa Rican bean. That Costa Rican bean is probably, if you're going to start off being a home roaster, buy Costa Rican.
Okay.
Get the Terrazzo region, and it is also a very acidic soil. It makes a great coffee bean. It's also a strictly hard bean, and it's high grown. So that means it's a very slow bean. It's a very dense bean, but it has such a great sweet spot, you know, where the coffee tastes good.
Yeah.
That you can take it into the Dark Side, into a darker roast, which is about 465, 470, depending on the rig that you're using, and you still get the characteristics of the coffee. Now, a lot of coffees that when you take it into a dark roast, you just taste the char of the beans. Yeah, it's a great way to be consistent, because you can roast everything to the char.
Okay.
Right? I can give you expensive beans or not so expensive beans, and I can still give you the same char on the beans.
Because you're taking it to the max.
Right. And
you taste.
You cook out the characteristics like a super well done steak. Right?
Yep.
You got it there. It's like shoe leather, but it's a steak.
Yep. And that's kind of what you're getting from the box store from Washington or wherever.
Well, the good thing is that if you get to that area, it's consistent, and their biggest thing is consistency.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like if you buy a Bubba Macalato or whatever they're called, if you buy it in Seattle and you buy it in Houston, they're going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Same thing with a McDonald's burger.
They're the
right?
McDonald's of coffee.
Yeah. You buy a McDonald's in Washington, D.C., and you buy one in Arizona, it's the exact same thing. So you get consistency, you know what you're getting, and, Starbucks, I'm going to use the name here, they sell more milk than they do actual coffee.
Really?
Yep.
There you go.
That being said, the Dark Side is an excellent dark roast coffee, and it's a fantastic coffee, and like I said, the Costa Rican beans are just I can't say how good they are because
Sure.
they are such an easy bean to roast. And I also sell just the basic Costa Rican bean where it doesn't go straight into the dark side. I cut it right about the beginning of the second crack, and it also is a good coffee. I mean, you can't go wrong with that coffee.
Okay. So from the dark side, let's talk about dialing it up a couple notches, and let's talk about rocket fuel.
Yeah, that's my bad boy of the coffees here. That was my first. I decided I'm going to get you see other coffees out there talking about 3 times the caffeine, whatever it is, brain explosion coffee or whatever they're called. And basically what you're doing is you're roasting a Robusto bean. You have 2 kinds of coffee beans, Arabica and Robusto, and Licaria. But that's only in certain areas in Java, but we don't see that around here.
Sure.
But the Robusto beans have about 2 to 3 times the caffeine in it that a Arabica beans. Now, they're faster growing beans. That means they're a very light, very soft bean, and they don't have a very good flavor.
Okay.
But they're called Robusto beans is because they're very robust. They're not subjected to the coffee rust or the borer worms for the coffee.
Okay.
So they produce a ton of those things. High caffeinated, terrible taste, and
but it does the job.
It does. If you want warming caffeine, that's where you get. That's where most of your diner coffee comes from. Is that because it's huge? It's commercial coffee. My first experience with that turned out to be a turd. It really did. I did it. I bought like a small batch, like 65 pounds of it. I roasted, and I was like, oh, there it is. I didn't get the first crack. I roasted it again, and I heard it first crack, but that time it was so burnt. You have to roast it completely different than you do Arabica beans. And probably after about 6 or 7 pounds and 6 or 7 roasts of trying different things, I finally just put it in the fertilizer bin. And it was that I bought cheap Robusto beans.
Okay.
And the one thing I found that if you don't buy high quality beans, you get stuck with beans that are just not high quality, and you think it's you, but it's just not. It's just crappy beans. Excuse my language, but
no.
And so I went out and bought some Mexican high quality Robusto beans, and it was like it was good. It was very good. It took me like 2, maybe 3 roasts to dial the beans in, and so what I do is I mix that with the Guatemalan jasmine.
Okay.
That is kind of a smoother bean, so you get the caffeine and some of the harshness of the Robusto beans, but the smoothness of the jasmine beans kind of covers it up, makes it into a very good cup of coffee.
So it meets Terra America's standards.
It's a good cup of coffee,
yeah,
but it will walk you like you would not believe.
Oh yeah, no, I drank it and I was bear hunting with a switch. I promise you.
Well, that was so I gave my wife some rocket fuel and said, take it up to office, and so she made a pot of coffee, and some of the engineering staff had a big meeting up there, and they all were swilling down that coffee. And she said that was the most contentious, high-strung meeting that they've had in years.
Awesome.
She goes, don't ever bring that stuff in this office again. And, a lot of people, a lot of my clients, are police officers or people that work in the plants that work in the wee hours of the morning, and they need the caffeine to keep them going. And, it's a staple product for me.
Gotcha. So let's go to the polar opposite of that. Let's talk about Devil's Brew.
Devil's Brew, that was actually named by a friend of mine. I said, yeah, I'm going to start doing a decaffeinated. He goes, oh, that's Devil's Brew. I said, perfect name. So that's what it is. It's from the Swiss water process. Basically what they do is they put it under hot water, and the caffeine dissolves inside the hot water.
Okay.
They don't roast the beans, but then they get rid of the caffeine, and then they sell the beans to me. Doing that, you still have some caffeine in it, but it's about like half of what a Coke is.
Gotcha.
So it's really good, and the Swiss water process, no chemicals in it, not like the ethylene acetate, which basically gases the bean and gets the coffee to remove.
Okay.
Gets the caffeine. It removes the caffeine that way.
Yep.
And you still get an ethylene kind of taste to it, but with the Swiss water process, it's just another process. They're a lot more expensive beans, but they taste good. It makes a good cup of coffee. It's a cup of coffee that I drink, in the afternoon, so I don't want to be up all night.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic cup of coffee.
Yeah, it is. And then rounding out the suite of products would be your newest offering would be the Terra Madres.
Yeah, Terra Madre coffee is It's a project actually that is basically Mother Earth, right? And it's an all-woman co-op from the Hinajito area of Nicaragua. And it composed about 2,000 families, and most of them are the Hinatega Indians from that area. They've been working the land for generations, and now the Terra Madre project is getting them to buy, using the extra money that we pay. It's about 50 cents extra a pound. And the money that goes directly back to the farmers and the pickers, and that money goes to them so they can buy the title to their land. So that land will become part of their family or part of their heritage. So it's not something where they're sharecroppers. They will actually own the land.
That's awesome.
And it is. And they're taking the money that they're doing, they have excess money, and they're learning about education on how to grow different varietals, how to grow faster varietals, how to deal with the rust, how to deal with the bollworms, and also they're using it to educate their kids into farming. So it's, best 50 cents I've ever spent in my life.
Absolutely.
And it's just amazing, and I think it really pairs well with what you're doing with human trafficking, because it goes from, female to, female helping females, basically.
Right. And it's an amazing cup of coffee. That's my go-to coffee now.
My first couple attempts at it were pretty crappy. Excuse my language again. The first time I did it, it was good. You could tell there was a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
But on the back end of it, when it kind of died in the back of your mouth, it was kind of a bitterness to it.
Yeah.
It didn't really work. So I tried to go with a darker roast, get it up into the 460 range, and try to see maybe it'll be a good dark side coffee. The beans just fell apart.
Huh.
I mean, you start getting defects in them, and it, ground it up, it just wasn't good. So I found that, it took me a couple of roasts to get it, but once I did, it is fantastic. It is really a good cup of coffee.
And it's low acidic, right? So,
it is.
It's easy on the stomach.
It's you can compare it with the Hawaiian Kona coffee. It has kind of the same volcanic soil.
Yep.
I don't want to ballyhoo it too much because all the other vendors out here are going to buy up all the coffee now. No, it's a really good coffee, and I wouldn't put it up against Kona coffee any day.
Okay. So, yeah, in talking about that project, it works well with Coffee to the Rescue. I'm going to offer all different varieties that you offer, and all the profits will be going to stopping human trafficking. So for $20, you'll get a pound of coffee, and you'll be saving lives with every sip. Because, as kind of talking about the human trafficking things piece of this is, the reason I started the podcast was to be a marketing arm to sell the coffee to fund stopping human trafficking. I wanted to fund the guys and gals that are on the tip of the spear, going out and shutting these people down, because in doing my research and listening to a couple podcasts where former military Marines, Navy SEALs, spec ops guys teamed up with a bunch of law enforcement, and Houston is the #1 hub for human trafficking in the United States. And what I found out was that a person that is put into human trafficking is abused on average 70 times before they are rescued. And it's not just women that are turned into prostitution, it's kids. And they don't care if it's boys or girls, they don't care young or old. The youngest one that has been saved, as disgusting as it is, was less than a year old. And the oldest one was a grandmother. And when I heard about this, I did the same thing. I know what you felt. And my stomach is just turning, just thinking about it. But I said, I got to do something about this. And the efforts of many are greater than the efforts of one. So I can provide a venue to... It's a dark, sick topic, but it's something that's got to be stopped. And in America, human trafficking has reached an epidemic proportion. In the main streets of El Lago, they had just busted a guy in El Lago,
What?
in Taylor Crest, for child porn. And no, this is a podcast. You said it, and it deserved that language. He's about to go to trial, and I hope the guy gets hung. I have no.
I don't think they do
qualms.
that anymore, but
No, but if they
wish.
could, I wish they would, because until they take drastic measures, this stuff's not going to stop. And human trafficking has been lifted up recently to more in the limelight to be recognized and to be more, take an effect to do something about it with Epstein and Weinstein and all those idiots that were doing that. And it's a sick, disgusting habit that people have, and it's an addiction that they just need to go away, and they need to be neutered or killed or worse.
So weren't you telling me that the cartels now are more into human trafficking and getting away from drugs?
So yes, that I was surprised. Drugs, you get cocaine or weed or whatever, and you sell it, and it's gone. Humans are sold over and over and over and over and over. It's a renewable resource for them, and
I don't use those words.
Well, that's true, but poor choice of words. I apologize. But it's something that keeps on. They can reuse them, and like I said, 70 times the average person is just So
anyway, when you told me about that, I had no idea that Houston was so entrenched in. Human trafficking. It just kind of blew me away. I'm happy in my middle class bubble here, where I think everything's peachy keen. And so when you asked me if this would be something you'd be interested in, it's like, of course I would. I mean, anything I can do to help stop. But I just really had no idea that it was that prevalent here.
Yeah, and it's coming. They're coming through the southern border, and not to get too political, but they're saying Trump separated the kids from their parents. No, what he did is he separated kids from people that they could not verify were their parents. Because people sell kids to get them across the border, because then they think they got a better chance of getting across because they're a family and it's a refugee. Well, no, that's not the case. They say more than half are criminals coming across using these kids or women, and they're being victimized along the way. So that's why truly it is coffee to the rescue, where you're getting an amazing cup of coffee, you're getting Texas' most exclusive coffee, you're getting it's for a noble cause. You're not going to get $6 a pound coffee, it's $20 a pound, but the profits are going directly to stopping human trafficking. And like I said, that's the tagline of the coffee company is saving lives with every sip. So
that's a cool tagline.
I can't thank you enough for partnering with me to do this and to allowing your coffee to be marketed this way. And I think it's going to go on to do big things.
I hope so. I hope it does. It's something that, once again, once you brought that to my attention, you kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm happy in my middle class bubble where I'm like, I don't want to know about, but I would be more happy to. I'm not going to go out there and champion, shutting that down, because I don't know what to do, wouldn't know how to do it, but I would be more than happy to donate money into it. And I think it's the Terra Madre coffee is fantastic because it only helps, like I said, women to women. It's a fantastic supply chain. It goes from every sip saves a life, and I think that's a fantastic little tagline. You opened my eyes to a lot of that stuff, and I really wish you had.
That's the way I felt, but once Pandora's box went open, all I could do was say, what can I do to do my part? Thanks so much. I look forward to moving forward and see where this goes. My goal is to raise $10,000 this year to stop human trafficking, and we'll see where it goes from there. But you can buy the coffee. It'll be Coffee to the Rescue. It's going to be launched by the time this podcast is launched. There will be ways to buy it. I'm setting up the store now and the supply chain and arranging all the shipping and all that kind of stuff. But Robby, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast.
Sure.
I appreciate it, and look forward to having you on again.
Outstanding. See you later.